Well, if you're having sex and your birth control method is covered by insurance, you're a prostitute. That's what Rush Limbaugh said about a young woman who testified before Congress in support of mandated insurance coverage of birth control.
So, Ms. Fluke, and the rest of you feminazis, here's the deal. What does it say about the college co-ed Susan Fluke, who goes before a congressional committee and essentially says that she must be paid to have sex? What does that make her? It makes her a slut, right? Makes her a prostitute. She wants to be paid to have sex.
So, now the president is rushing in to join the fray. He called Ms. Fluke. You had her name wrong there, Rush. Not any names, just on the phone.
He encouraged me and supported me and thanked me for speaking out about the concerns of American women. And what was really personal for me was that he said to tell my parents that they should be proud, and that meant a lot because Rush Limbaugh questioned whether or not my family would be proud of me. So I just appreciated that very much.
Yes, it's 1950-something all over again as a national dialogue returns to the debate over birth control. This time, whether insurance policies should cover it, even when the company purchasing the policy objects to contraception for religious or moral reasons. Joining me to talk about this debate, from Know Your Care, an organization that supports the President's Affordable Care Act, Annette Raveneau, and from the South Hills Church in Henderson, pastor of discipleship, Neil Benson. He's got his finger on the pulse of Christian culture and is here to give us some insight. Thanks to both of you for being on the program.
Thanks,
John. So, all the rhetoric, and this seems to me to have gotten a bit overheated. Do you see the other side's point of view on this at all? The issue of religious freedom, which the Republicans have used, but forget the Republicans. What about businesses, employers? Do you see that side of this at all?
Of course, but it's already been taken care of. Any religious institution does not have to offer birth control for women. That's already taken care of by their insurance companies. So there's no issue right now, really.
Well, there is an issue. I mean, the president changed, he backtracked after he proposed the first thing, and then he said the insurance companies are the ones on the hook. But still, a lot of people say that's just a fig leaf. He's still trying to do the same thing. You don't agree with that?
Well, every woman should have the right of preventive services. The same thing as pap smears, mammograms, birth control, or contraception in general is supposed to be part of the preventive services for women. It's just our body is different than men's bodies.
What if the employer, whoever that employer is morally opposed to contraception or other kinds of things? You think that the employer should still be mandated to provide that?
It's fine that he has issues with it. That would be fine. But that doesn't mean that a woman should have to choose not to work for him, for instance. A woman should have the right to have talk to her doctor, and then they decide if contraception is the best route for her.
What do you think about this debate, Pastor?
I think as I've been trying to study on it and read about everything, I feel like it's going to be one of those things that's going to flush out recently. As even as I'm watching, as Mitt Romney talks about the guy who's proposing it is supposed to be his main person presenting the issue, and he doesn't even understand it. How's the American public supposed to get it?
Well, it looks like Mitt Romney didn't understand it for a little while yesterday.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah.
But we're talking about what's called the Blunt Amendment, of course, in case people don't know, and it failed in the U.S. Senate on Thursday. But do you think this is an issue of religious freedom, or is it, as again, this is the hyperventilating rhetoric, a war on women?
Yeah, I don't know if I would say it's a war on women. I'm not sure if it's a thing of religious freedom. I think that it's probably something to deal with money.
What do you mean money?
Well, at the bottom line, if we're trying to have insurance companies that don't have to provide something or that have to, I mean, who's trying to push it through?
Well, you mean the more mandates that you push on insurance companies, the more it's going to cost.
Yeah.
But what I think what Annette Raveneau would say, I'll speak for you for now, and others would say is, listen, this is really about a basic right that women have had for decades.
Yeah.
And now they are trying to use the cover of religious freedom to have them not provide that interest. How did I do?
You did really good, except the hair, but you did good.
To have that taken away, and I think that that's something that the Christian community is going to have to figure out. I think you're going to have some people that stand on more the conservative side and some people that stand on the liberal side, and when you look at the Christian community as a whole, from Catholicism to Episcopals to Lutherans, Protestants, even evangelical Christians, and not saying that those fall on either side or the other, wherever my hands are going, but where everyone is going to have their own opinion on what to do with the woman's body is really what.
Why do you put that in quotes?
Well, because you see, you see that and what's coming up, and that's almost the not the topic, but what it's come down to is where women are saying, well, it's about my body. And so it's almost become that issue, if it's safe to say that.
There's a couple of issues, we're going to take a break, but there's a couple of issues I do want to address, which is Dean Heller, who's one of those who voted for this, pivoted immediately to say what you're trying to protect, this is about Obamacare. And the other issue is, of course, the hypocrisy issue here, the allegation that millions of women in the Catholic Church, for instance, are using birth control, even though it's the Church's mandate. We're going to talk about both those topics when we come back. And later in the program, we're going to talk to a candidate in that special city council election down here in Las Vegas. What, you didn't know there was a special city council election? Really, there is. There's 9 people running. You're going to meet one of them when Face to Face returns.
If you want to comment or have missed a program, just go face to Facebook with John Ralston, where you can click on links to the Las Vegas Sun, find John's columns, his blog, and links to past programs.
Welcome back across Nevada to Face to Face. We're talking about the controversy in Congress and in the presidential race with the so-called Blunt Amendment. It went down in the Senate, would have mandated that employers don't have to provide certain services, health services, if they have moral religious objections. A couple of folks on different sides of that issue, I think, on the program this evening. Dean Heller voted, as I said, in favor of the Blunt Amendment, and it would have, I mentioned what it would have done. Here's what he said. All we are trying to do is revert to is the law of the land today, which doesn't limit access to contraception. He said, that was an interview with the AP, said the same thing to me. This country spends billions on allowing for free access of contraception. Go to any health clinic and that access is available. You're shaking your head. But basically what what he said is true there, is it not? All that access is there today. What he's saying this was really about was what they call Obamacare on the other side, and what you're trying to defend, the Affordable Care Act, which you corrected. I always put it in quotes, Obamacare, you'll be happy. Like he put women's body in quotes. But anyhow, and I guess what he's saying is that's going to change the mandate. Just keep the current law the way that it is. Why isn't he right?
Well, I'm sorry, he's not right in any way. I mean, it's just all a trick. It's all about trying to undermine the Affordable Care Act, and it's a law that's helped so many Nevadans. So many seniors are being benefited by it. Women, of course, are being benefited by it. People that have children under 26 years old. I met a girl in UNLV, actually, that she now is being able to be back in her parents' health insurance. I think she's like around 25 right now. And literally, not even a month had passed after she was finally in the health coverage, and she had issues with her appendix. She had to go in an emergency room and get taken care of. That we're not paying as taxpayers, because now she has health insurance and has been taken care of by her insurance plan.
But what the pastor brought up earlier, and one of the criticisms of how health care is delivered in this country and of the Affordable Care Act, I'll call it by its proper name, is government mandates on insurance companies. The cost is going to go up, is it not?
No, it's
Why not?
Well, because more people are going to be able to afford health insurance. A lot of the people do not have health insurance because they don't want to. It's because they cannot afford it. Thanks to the Affordable Care Act, a lot of people will be able to afford it right here in our state, and that is huge. That's very important for everybody.
There's a flip side to this discussion that's going on, and this is the 1950s aspect of it a little bit, which has to do with the very purpose of sex. And you have Rick Santorum, who was a very well-known social conservative running for president. Here's what he had to say, Pastor. I want your reaction to this. Many in the Christian faith have said, well, that's okay. Contraception's okay. It's not okay, because it's a license to do things in the sexual realm that is counter to how things are supposed to be. They're supposed to be within marriage for purposes that are, yes, conjugal, but also procreative. That's the perfect way that a sexual union should happen. We take any part of that out, we diminish the act. I'd like to read that again. I'm so astounded by it. But I want to ask you a serious question about this. I mean, everybody knows. I mean, there are Catholics. I mean, most Catholic women use birth control, do they not?
Well, and I think you have a lot of people that use birth control. You know, and in his statement there is that sex is for the act of procreation. And yeah, I mean, in Genesis we see, you know, God made Adam. Adam's naming all the animals, and Adam goes, "Where's mine, God? I mean, where's someone for me to hang out with?" And so he has Eve, and let's just be realistic. It's coming from the Bible. Eve's naked, He's stoked. She's probably attractive. You like that one, huh? She laughed a
I've
little.
never heard a pastor ever say stoked.
Yeah.
And this is a first for me in my life. Go on,
I'm
sir.
glad. And so Adam's excited. He sees her and he goes, I want to be with her. Maybe not every act that they're together is going to procreate a baby, but if you look at even if you just
Well,
go...
it might if you don't have contraception, right?
Well,
right? You just made the case.
and it might, but the woman's not always ovulating, and so I think that humans are the only ones that have sex face to face, and so there has to be a pleasure aspect there with that.
You're okay with sex for pleasure?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm very much okay with sex for pleasure.
See, we've already had a breakthrough tonight. Tell me where you think this discussion is going. I mean, listen, you've been involved in this issue for some time now. Aren't you astounded that we're even talking about this at this point in our history?
Yes, definitely. And it's just all different tactics to undermine, again, the Affordable Care Act. And it's not working because so many people are enjoying the benefits of it.
But this goes beyond that, though, I'd say, Ms. Raveneau. This is also the Democrats, I think, trying to create a wedge issue so they can get more women to vote for their candidates. You don't see the other side of that at all?
No.
Oh,
I mean,
come on. Will they have halos? Come on.
Well, I'm not talking really about what the Democrats or
But
Republicans
that's what
are
they're doing, aren't they? Isn't that what the Democrats are doing?
The only thing I could tell you is what we're doing here in the state of Nevada. The Affordable Care Act is what we educate people. So Know Your Care is that what we're doing. We're educating people like the pastor and everybody else, including you, about the Affordable Care Act and how it benefits so many Nevadans.
I'd like to keep going. I have to say I'm very, let me use the word, stoked about this subject, but
I am
well,
too,
we have to move on. I really appreciate both of your willingness to come on the program. Thank you very much. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. You too.
When we come back, we will talk to a candidate in that special Las Vegas City Council election. Stick around.